This is Cold Radio, the podcast of cases with no ending. Imagine this. A young woman, once crowned a local beauty queen, living in a quiet southern town. She was a high school teacher, loved by her students, respected by their parents. And then, one night after a barbecue, she just vanished. No screams, no signs of struggle. Her house lights were still on, her bed was unmade, her phone still charging by the nightstand, and then, 12 years later, they found out she'd been raped and murdered, her body hidden, then burned in a pecan orchard, burned so completely there wasn't a single bone left to identify. This isn't a movie, this happened, and for years it was buried, not just in the dirt, but by the very people who were supposed to fight for justice. I'm Cold Radio, and this is the case of Tara Grinstead, a name that became a whisper in this town for over a decade. A whisper no one really wanted to hear again. When the sun sets behind those pecan trees out in Osilla, Georgia, time feels like it slows down. The air gets heavy, like you're stuck in an old photograph no one ever developed. Folks around here won't call it scary, but they'll sure tell you something doesn't feel quite right. The trees line up too straight. The shadows stretch a little too long. It's the kind of place where the wind seems to know what happened, but only whispers it to those who are brave enough to listen. Tara Grinstead was 30. She taught 11th grade history at Irwin County High School. She had this quiet kind of beauty, like the last light of the day, just before everything fades to blue. She'd won pageants, walked across lit-up stages, smiled for cameras. But at her core, she loved being in the classroom. She wasn't just a teacher, she was a mentor, a big sister, a safe space. She made kids in this town believe they could be more than what the town told them they were. On the morning of October 22nd, 2005, Tara was still Tara. She spent the day helping little girls get ready for the local sweet potato festival, fixing ribbons, smoothing dresses, fussing over curls like she always did. That night, she went to a cookout. She laughed, she smiled, she was still Tara, and then, just like that, she was gone. No one saw her after that night. Her car was parked right out front. The lights were still on. The hairdryer was on the floor. Her phone was charging by the bed. The sheets weren't even pulled back. No signs of forced entry, no broken glass, no struggle, just nothing. But there was one thing. A single blue latex glove, dropped right outside her front door like someone didn't care if it was seen. Inside that glove, Tara's DNA, and the DNA of a man no one could identify, not in any system, not anyone she was known to be close with. And then there was a business card. A police officer, a family friend, said he stopped by when he couldn't get her on the phone, left the card, and left. But who just walks into a woman's house late at night, uninvited, and no one sees a thing? There's a detail some folks around here talk about, but it never made the papers. That same officer had once been accused of misconduct, but the record was handled internally, never confirmed, never denied. But in a town like Osilla, people talk. I keep asking myself, how does someone like Tara, no debt, no criminal ties, no known enemies, just vanish? A woman who loved her students, loved her pageants, loved her little life in this town. Why would she leave everything behind, except herself? Some said she ran away. Some whispered suicide. But no one getting ready to earn her master's degree, no one laughing at a barbecue hours earlier, just up and disappears. Not on a quiet southern night with no wind, no rain, just bugs humming and silence thick enough to choke on. You know what silence is? It's when a town like Osilla, where everybody knows everybody, starts speaking in half sentences. It's in the back pew at church, at the barber shop, at the gas station. Eyes look down, voices lower, like somebody out there knows. 12 years later, they'd finally say it out loud. Tara had been murdered. But at this point, here in part 1 of her story, all we had were questions. Fear, confusion, and the slow, low anger of a town that couldn't understand how one of their best just disappeared. A smart, beautiful woman living in a small house with flowers on the porch, gone without a sound. No screams, no witnesses, just a glove, a business card, rumors, and silence. Cold radio doesn't hand you answers. But I will leave you with a question. Was Tara really the victim of a killer, or the victim of a town that had gotten too good at keeping things quiet? When a woman like Tara Grinstead disappears, folks don't just go looking for her, they start tearing the whole town apart. And in Osilla, Georgia, where every door used to open with a familiar smile, suddenly everything shut tight. But the thing that shook people more than her vanishing was how every red flag somehow got ignored. On purpose or by accident? That's the question folks around here have had to live with for years. After the night of October 22nd, 2005, when Tara didn't show up for school, something she would never do, people started to realize something was terribly wrong. Her house looked quiet, like always, but it wasn't Sunday morning kind of quiet. It was the kind of stillness that felt cold, like time had stopped, like something had left and wasn't coming back. The police showed up, friends came by, family too, but there was no sign of a struggle, no forced entry, no screaming, just a hair caught in a brush, an unmade bed, a lamp knocked over, and, like we mentioned, a single blue latex glove sitting right there on the front steps, in plain sight. That glove, later tested, carried Tara's DNA and a second profile, a man, but back then it matched no one, no criminal record, no civilian DNA to run it against, and so the case just drifted for years. Then came something downright maddening. A rumor, still unconfirmed to this day, claimed that the glove didn't come from the killer at all. It was dropped by one of the officers who arrived at the scene. They say he came back later, tried to grab it quietly, but it was too late. It had already been bagged and labeled as evidence. This one rumor sent message boards into chaos, because if that's true, the whole DNA lead goes up in smoke, and that means the real killer might never have even been close to being caught. Still, the cops didn't lean into that. Instead, they started narrowing in on the men in Tara's life. Ex-boyfriends, old students, co-workers, neighbors, even a police chief who folks said had taken a bit too much interest in her over the years. But most of the town's whispers landed on one man, Marcus Harper, Tara's ex-boyfriend, a former cop. He'd just come home from the military. Quiet, a little hardened, folks said they heard him and Tara arguing not long before she vanished. Marcus, they said, didn't want marriage. Tara did. Their relationship ended in a way that felt unfinished. And then the whispers began. He was Army, trained to kill. He'd know how to leave no trace. He could get in without breaking a window. Now, none of that was ever proven. But in a place like Osilla, a whisper can carry more weight than a police report. Marcus was questioned, swabbed for DNA, followed around. His truck was tested for blood, his life picked apart piece by piece, but nothing stuck. No blood, no confession, no clear lie. Just a man, maybe hurting, maybe cold, maybe innocent. Eventually, police said no one was a suspect. No one was even officially a person of interest. They moved from name to name, from ex-boyfriends to former students, cops to firefighters. One man, a friend of the family, had left a business card at Tara's house and got pulled in for questioning. He walked out. No charges. Every time someone got close to the truth, that door slammed shut again. But here's something nobody likes to say out loud. The investigation, from day one, was a mess. They got tips, dozens. Some came early, like from John McCullough, a man who said he knew who did it. Other people claimed they heard something at a party. Two young guys bragging about what they'd done, said they'd burned her in the orchard, and all of it was brushed off. To this day, I still can't make sense of why the GBI didn't follow up. Was it jurisdiction? Was it because they trusted the clean backgrounds of the people being named? Some say Tara stood out too much. She was smart, independent, admired, and that kind of woman in a town like this can make the wrong kind of people feel threatened. People loved her, but people can envy too. She was 30, unmarried, in a place like Osilla that sets you apart. She taught school. She'd competed in pageants. She dated more than one man, and some. Not all confessions happen inside an interrogation room. Some come out at a bar, at a Christmas party, or in the front seat of a car, circling the same quiet streets over and over again. Sometimes a confession comes from the one person you trust the most. The one who's shared drinks with you, shared war stories, shared silence during the hardest nights of training. And sometimes, when you hear that kind of confession, the only thing you can do is scream inside your own head, "Is anyone going to listen to me?" John McCullough, a young soldier from Texas, was the first person who actually knew what had happened to Tara Grinstead. It was 2006, just a few months after she vanished, and he'd come to Osilla at the invitation of his Army buddy, Bo Dukes. Bo was sharp, good-looking, a little too slick for his own good, but in the Army, trust gets built fast. You eat together, fight together, bleed together. That's how it was with John and Bo. They rode around town, swapped stories, knocked back a few beers, and then they passed a billboard. Tara's face smiling back, a quick snapshot blown up across the highway. Missing. $100,000 reward. John asked about it, and Bo, half drunk, half smirking, looked over and said something John would never forget. "I know what happened to her," he said. "Ryan Duke, his roommate, his best friend, had accidentally strangled Tara. And Bo didn't call the cops. He didn't tell anyone. He helped burn her body. Out in the pecan orchard his family owned. John said he felt sick, not just because of what he heard, but how Bo said it, like he was talking about something he'd seen on TV. No guilt, no shame, no second thoughts, just bragging, like it was some kind of twisted war story. John sat with that secret for 2 months. Then he started calling. 3 different police departments across Georgia left voicemails, gave his number, begged someone to call him back. But no one ever did. This is the moment that makes most people furious. 12 years of dead ends. But back then, in 2006, someone handed them everything. Names, a confession, a location. They had Bo, they had Ryan, and they had a man saying, "I'll talk, I'll tell you everything." But it all got buried, somewhere in a file cabinet under a pile of, "We'll get to it later." Now, I'm not saying it was a cover-up, but I can't help but wonder, did someone in law enforcement know the Dukes family? That orchard was private property. The family, wealthy, well-connected, they had influence and power. And then there's this. According to a leak from an old online crime forum, Bo once got caught stealing over $150,000 worth of military gear. He got arrested. But somehow, he only served a light sentence. People started asking, who is Bo Dukes, and why does he always seem to walk away clean? Fast forward to 2015. Almost 10 years later, the truth found another way out. Brooke Sheridan, a pharmacy student from Savannah, met Bo on Tinder. It was fast, it was intense, the kind of love that makes you overlook things. She once stopped him from taking his own life. She thought his demons came from war. Until one night, Bo looked her in the eye and asked, "You ever heard of Tara Grinstead?" She said yes. Everybody in Georgia knew that name. And then he told her, "My roommate killed her, and I helped burn the body." Brooke didn't cry, didn't scream. She just stared at him, like the man she thought she loved never really existed at all. Weeks later, Brooke picked up the phone and called the GBI. She told them everything. This time, they listened. They reopened the case. They called John McCullough. They brought Bo back in. And not long after, Ryan Duke was arrested. That blue latex glove from back in 2005, it still existed. And now, DNA could match it. The result? A perfect hit. Ryan Duke. 12 years after Tara disappeared, pieces finally started to fall into place, but they didn't fall cleanly. They didn't fall neatly. They fell crooked. They fell hard. Bo said Ryan did it. Ryan confessed. And then Ryan took it all back. Said Bo was the one who really did it. So, who really killed Tara? Cold Radio won't give you an answer, but I'll leave you with this. If that first confession had been heard back in 2006, maybe Tara could have been laid to rest a long time ago. But when justice plugs its ears, what else gets buried along with the truth? If you've made it this far, chances are you feel the same way I do, that something about this case just doesn't sit right. Cold Radio is here to tell the stories people would rather forget. So, if you're ready to keep digging, if you want to follow the truth, even when it's buried deep, go ahead and hit subscribe, leave a like. It's a small act, but it helps keep the light on in the darkest corners. In cases that stretch across decades, justice doesn't always show up in sirens or flashing lights cutting through the fog. Sometimes it comes in contradictions, in awkward glances, unsure answers, and the same names over and over again, like ink bleeding through a page that's been copied too many times. Bo Dukes and Ryan Duke. Names so similar folks thought they were brothers. They weren't. Just two boys from Osilla, former students of Tara Grinstead, and, if the story's true, the last two people to see her alive. After his arrest, Ryan Duke, maybe thinking he had no other choice, confessed. He said on the night of October 22, 2005, he broke into Tara's house to steal money while high on drugs. She caught him. He panicked, hit her once, and she died. One punch? That's what he said. He didn't mean to kill her. He was scared, called Bo, and together they took her body out to the Duke's family pecan orchard, a place every kid in town had walked through at least once, and spent 2 whole days burning it. 2 days. To erase a woman, a teacher, a mentor, a local pageant queen with a light in her eyes that made other people believe in themselves. And all of that turned to ash. No ring, no bone, no DNA, just dust and a name. Bo Dukes, once outed, denied everything, but eventually he admitted it, that he'd helped destroy Tara's body. He described the process, how Ryan brought her there, how they gathered wood, how they burned it, bit by bit, like it was just another backyard bonfire, like she wasn't a person, just something to be gotten rid of. Then came the trial in 2019, and things started to fall apart. Bo said Ryan confessed the very next day, said, "I killed her," and asked for help. But Ryan, through his lawyers, denied it, said Bo killed Tara, said he himself had been high, coerced, confused when he confessed, that none of it was true. And just like that, justice got blurred again. There were inconsistencies. Deadly ones. Bo claimed Tara was strangled in bed. Ryan said he hit her, and she fell, hit her head. Bo said she was in pajamas. Ryan didn't remember. Bo said the confession was clear, word for word. Ryan said he never told him a thing. And here's what chills me to the bone. If Ryan really did it, why would he try to throw Bo under the bus? But if Bo was the killer, why would he confess just to help a friend? There's a theory in Osilla that no major outlet has dared to fully explore, that Bo Dukes wasn't the helper. He was the mastermind. Bo is clever. He knows how to tell a story just believable enough to avoid a murder charge. And that's exactly what happened. He wasn't charged with killing Tara. He was charged with concealing her death, lying to police, and destroying evidence. A supporting role, the sidekick, the guy who got pulled into it. But you know what? While out on bond, waiting for trial in the Tara Grinstead case, Bo Dukes was arrested for rape. Not a rumor, not a whisper, a real arrest. 2 women held at gunpoint, assaulted, and still, Bo denied everything. But this time, folks in town saw him different. He wasn't just a troubled boy anymore, he was a predator. I'm going to say something now, not based on a verdict, but on a gut feeling that won't leave me. Maybe Tara didn't die from a single punch. Maybe she wasn't just murdered. Maybe she was raped. Dr. Morris Godwin, an independent forensic expert hired by Tara's family, said publicly that all signs, from witness accounts to behavioral evidence, point to a planned sexual assault involving both Bo and Ryan. And if that's true, then the fire wasn't just about hiding a body, it was about erasing every trace of what they did to her. I sit here behind this microphone and wonder, how many cases have been twisted like this? How many women have been recast as the ex who misunderstood, or the flirt, just so the real story could be spun in favor of the man who knew how to talk? Bo knows how to talk, Ryan doesn't, and to this day, no court has been able to say for certain. Who killed Tara Grinstead? What we do have is contradiction, regret, and photographs of a smiling woman who didn't deserve any of this. Cold Radio leaves you with one last question. If two men carried her body to be burned, if they both knew every detail of how she died, then why was only one man charged with murder? And why is the other still waiting to be sentenced as if he's just some lucky witness? Some stories don't really end. They just stop. People call it closure, but that's not quite right. It's more like a quiet place where the questions outlive the answers. The case of Tara Grinstead is one of those stories. Her name made it to the court. The accused stood trial. Her family cried. Her students lit candles. Her friends waited. But deep down, did anyone really feel like justice had been served? In 2019, Bo Dukes was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Not for murder, not for rape, but for hiding a body, burning the evidence, and lying to investigators. In court, the jury heard Bo's confession. I didn't kill Tara. I just helped my friend clean it up. But what silenced the room wasn't the confession itself. It was how he said it. No tears, no hesitation, no sense that he was reliving a tragedy, just words, flat and rehearsed, like reading an old grocery list out loud, as if Tara wasn't a person, just a memory he'd already moved past. And that matters, because sometimes what you don't feel says more than what you do. And Bo Dukes didn't feel anything, not for Tara, not for what was done, not for what he admitted. Then came Ryan Duke's trial. The man who once said, "I killed her," now said he didn't. His lawyers claimed he was high, confused, didn't know what he was saying, that the confession was garbage, that Bo was the real killer. And just like that, we were back at square one. A new spin, one man pointing at the other, one calling himself guilty, then saying he was framed. Tara's family, who had waited 12 long years, now sat through it all again, like watching a broken tape that just keeps rewinding and never hits play. And then something strange surfaced. A leak, an old GBI file, nobody knew where it came from, showed Ryan's statement may have been altered. Handwritten edits, crossed out lines, rumors that a lead investigator tried to wrap it up early to ease pressure from the media. Never confirmed. But in a case like this, silence always breeds suspicion. Then another blow. While out on bond, Bo Dukes was arrested again, this time for armed rape, 2 women, held at gunpoint, sexually assaulted. He was taken in, he appealed, but he didn't deny what happened. And people in Osilla started whispering again, if he could do that while the world was watching, what could he have done in 2005, when no one was paying attention? I'm not here to accuse, but I am here to ask. That's what Cold Radio does. So here's one question, just a simple one. If Bo didn't kill Tara, if all he did was help hide her body, why did he keep quiet for 12 years? An innocent man panics. A man who makes a mistake begs for forgiveness. But Bo didn't. He drank, he dated, he told the story like some dark bar joke, then denied it, then told it again, depending on who was listening, and all the while, Tara's house stood untouched. The white door, the old porch steps, the bedroom lamp that hasn't been turned back on since. Her stepmother, Connie, once stood before the court and said he knew she wasn't coming back. He knew because he was the one who stacked the wood on her body and burned her. What could he possibly say now to make that right? And here's the part that still breaks something in me. Neither Bo nor Ryan ever publicly apologized. Not once. Not to her family. Not to the community. Not for taking the life of a teacher, a woman who just wanted a simple home, a quiet life, and maybe someone to love her back. I think about that a lot. Not because I need to know who did it, but because I need to know how a community, a justice system, a country that claims to believe in accountability, let this case grow cold for over a decade. Maybe Bo did it, maybe Ryan, maybe both. But one thing's for sure. Tara Grinstead was betrayed, not just by the person who took her life, but by the entire system that promised to protect it. And in every case that never really ends, there's always a moment that cuts deeper than any verdict. It's not the handcuffs, it's the silence that follows. When the people left behind have to tell themselves, maybe this is all we'll ever get. Cold Radio closes this series with one final whisper. If justice is a flame we're meant to keep alive, then who let it go out in that orchard on that night when a woman burned and no one heard her scream? Thank you for staying with us all the way to the end. If this story stirred something in you, tell us what it was in the comments below. We'll see you again for more stories where the blood runs cold and the secrets run even deeper.